40% of all seniors rely on Social Security as their main source of income. So whenever the government makes changes to the program, it affects a lot of people in a big way. So I'm going to give you the 5 major changes that are going to happen to Social Security in 2024 that you should know about and see how it affects your benefits. And then you want to stay till the end of this video because the New York Times just came out with a story about the Social Security Administration and problems that are happening there that are causing delays in benefits, and see how that impacts your benefits. So let's jump right into it. So this is what I want to cover today. The 5 major changes that are going to happen starting in January 2024. And then this is a huge story from CBS 60 Minutes. About 1 million people on Social Security and disability benefit are at risk of having their benefits suspended because of overpayments, meaning that they've been paid more money than they deserve, so the Social Security is sending letters to them wanting the extra money back. This is a big story. Letters are going out. It's impacting a lot of people, so you want to stay for that. And then finally, there are delays that are happening with the Social Security benefits that are caused by staffing problems, budget cuts, and the New York Times is a major story that I'm going to update you on shortly. If you are new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button because all we do is bring you the latest news and updates about anything in and out of Congress that may affect your benefits. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing that's going to happen, which you probably know already, is the cost of living adjustment. This is a big deal because it went from 8.7% in 2023 to 3.2%. And this is something that a lot of people on Social Security and disability have been very disappointed by. Why? Because even though the government says that inflation has been coming down, a lot of the costs that seniors face, a lot of the costs that people on disability face, specifically healthcare costs, prescription drugs, etc., have not gone down. So prices have gone up and stayed up, yet the cost of living adjustment, which is the only way that people on Social Security and disability see their income catch up with inflation, was only announced at 3.2%. And that has been a big disappointment. So I want to spend some time on this because a lot of you are frustrated with this cost of living adjustment because you feel like your purchasing power, the amount of stuff you can spend with your Social Security and disability benefit keeps going down. So let's talk about what this COLA is about. Well, historically, COLA has been about 2.6% over the last 20 years. This according to the Senior Citizens League. And if you look at the last few years, because of record inflation, COLA was 5.9% in 2022 and 8.7% in 2023. And that was because of the cost, the increased cost that happened due to the inflation. Now that inflation has been coming down, the government has been adjusting COLA down. Well, for a lot of you, that is not what your reality looks like. So I am going to talk about something that the president has proposed to change how COLA is calculated to be more realistic with the cost that seniors face on a daily basis. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. But before that, when are you going to see the money in your account? Well, you should have started receiving letters already from the Social Security Administration. You can go online if you have a Social Security account and log into the Social Security website and see how much the increase is going to be for your benefit. But the Social Security Administration is going to start mailing letters starting in December to everybody, and you're going to find out how much your COLA is going to be. So if you have not received that letter, you can log in online or wait for the letter to come in. It's going to tell you specifically, starting in January, what your Social Security payment is going to be adjusted to. But the bigger story here is, how is the COLA calculated? Well, I'm going to walk you through that, and then I'm going to share with you the change that the president wants to make. So typically, the cost of living adjustment is pegged at a consumer price index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. What does that mean? Basically, the Bureau of Labor Statistics each third quarter will look at a list of goods and services, food, clothing, transportation, medical care, etc., that urban wage earners and clerical workers are affected by. So they will look at this list of goods and services for the third quarter, and then they're going to compare it to the same list of goods and services for the previous third quarter for that previous year. And if this year's prices have gone up, then there's been an increase in the cost of living, so they will adjust your COLA for that. If prices stay the same, then there is no adjustment. And then if prices went down, your Social Security benefits by law cannot go down. So if prices went down, they leave it the same. What has been happening is that the last few years, prices have been going up a lot. So that's why you're seeing the big adjustment in COLA. But clearly, the government is saying that COLA has been coming down. The inflation has been coming down, so your COLA is being adjusted down. The problem is that a lot of you are complaining that that does not reflect the cost that you see. So what does that mean? Well, this is how they calculate the COLA. As I mentioned, they use the third quarter data for this year, compare it to the third quarter data for last year, and then if there's been a cost increase, then they adjust your COLA upwards. So the formula is very transparent, and this is how it's done. So you can get that information on the Social Security website. That does not help you because regardless of how it's calculated, it does not reflect your situation. So here's what the president is trying to do to change the way COLA is calculated so that it will be more reflective of how the costs that affect seniors are manifesting. So currently, as I mentioned, COLA is calculated based on the Consumer Price Index for wage earners and clerical workers, which is CPIW. Well, urban wage earners and clerical workers are not the people that are on Social Security and disability benefits. So why are we using an inflation index for urban wage earners and clerical workers to calculate cost of living adjustment for seniors and people on disability? That is what the president is trying to fix. So they want to create a new index called CPIE, and the E stands for elderly, that will look at the spending habits of household with individuals aged 62 or over. What this is aimed at doing is to be able to look at the costs that directly affect seniors and then adjust their cost of living as a result of that. So it will be a more realistic look at the prices that seniors have to deal with, and so that your COLA will be based on something that definitely reflects the way you are living and the costs that impact you the most, especially healthcare and prescription drug costs. So this is part of the president's plan. I did a whole video about that and explained it. It's a 4-part plan. And so hopefully if this is approved next year, then you can see a change in how COLA is calculated. The next thing that I want to talk about is, well, now that we know what the COLA is, what is the average benefit that you can expect? If you're on Social Security, the average benefit goes from $1,827 to $1,907. If you're on SSDI, which is Social Security Disability Insurance, your average benefit goes from $1,483 to $1,537. If you're on Supplemental Security Income or SSI, your maximum benefit goes from $914 to $943, which is really not a big increase. And if you are a couple on SSI, you get your benefit moves from $1,371 to $1,415. Next is the Social Security tax base. As you may know, Social Security benefits are funded through payroll taxes. If you make up to $160,200 in 2023, you pay 12.4% in payroll taxes for Social Security. Each year, this is adjusted after the COLA is announced. So in 2023, it was $160,200. That is when you pay taxes on Social Security. So if you make more than that, you only pay up to $160,200 of your salary. Well, in 2024, that number is going to go to $168,600 a year. Next is the maximum benefit at full retirement, which is going to go up. And this is important if you're going to get on Social Security this year. So typically, each year the government is going to announce an adjustment to the maximum benefit that you can ever receive at full retirement. This is the cap. So in 2023, it was $3,627 a month. In 2024, it's going to be $3,822. So there is an adjustment of about $200 or so upwards. So that is what the maximum benefit at full retirement, which for some of you may be $66 years and change depending on where you were born. And then some of you is going to be 67 years depending on the year you were born. So this is critical information for those who are about to retire. And then number 4, if you started collecting Social Security before your retirement age and you're working, you may already know that you have to report your earnings to the Social Security Administration so that your Social Security benefits are adjusted. Now, there's a limit above which they start making that adjustment. So each year, that threshold is increased. So in 2023, it was $21,240, after which, if you make that much money working while you are receiving Social Security before your retirement age, then your benefits are going to be adjusted because of that. In 2024, that amount is going to be $22,320. So if you're receiving benefits before your full retirement age and you're working, you can make up to $22,320 and your benefits will not be adjusted. But if anything above that, then for every $1 in benefits will be withheld for every $2 that you make beyond that threshold. So this is important because a lot of people receive Social Security before their full retirement age. So this is a number that, because a lot of people are also working in retirement, this is something that a lot of people pay attention to. So, and then when you hit your full retirement age, that threshold changes. So when you hit your full retirement age that year, you can make up to $56,520 before anything will be adjusted. That was the 2023 number. In 2024, that number will increase to $59,520. And once you go above that, there will be $1 withheld for every $3 in earnings above that limit. So it's very generous when you hit retirement age, your full retirement age, that is. And here is the 5th adjustment to Social Security that you need to pay attention to. So for people who are trying to earn credits to qualify for Social Security, you know that there are 40 credits that you need to qualify for benefits. And each year, the dollar amount attached to each quarter of credit changes. In 2023, to get a quarter worth of credit, you have to earn $1,640. Well, in 2024, it's going to go up to $1,730. So those are the 5 changes to Social Security in 2024 that are going to happen. Let me know if any of this hits you differently. Like, do you see the change affecting you personally, and how is that going to affect you? And is that going to be a positive thing? Is that going to be a negative thing? Let me know in the comment section below. But the next thing I want to talk about is this big story from 60 Minutes. Over 1 million people are going to be affected by overpayments. And it's a growing story that I've been following. And when this 60-minute story came out, I knew I had to do a video to keep you guys updated, because there's a lot in here that if you're on Social Security or disability benefits, you need to pay attention to. So let's get right into it. Now, before I say anything, the title of the 60-minute story alone is very disturbing. Our mistake is your responsibility. Essentially, the Social Security Administration makes mistakes, but you are responsible for their mistake, because even if they calculated something wrong and it's their fault, you are still responsible, and they're going to come after you to get the money. So let's look into what's happening here. 71 million people receive Social Security checks every month, including disability. However, each year, 1 million people receive bills from the Social Security Administration that they've been paid more money than they deserve. Sometimes this has been going on for weeks, months, and even years. And so you're going to get a letter, and then it's going to tell you that you owe thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and you have 30 days to pay it back, or a portion of your benefits or all of your benefits will be taken, depending on what kind of Social Security benefits you're on. It's going to be taken to pay the debt back. And so a lot of people are being impacted where all of a sudden their Social Security benefits are being cut off without warning. and then they realized that they owe money that they didn't even know they were being overpaid for. So let's jump into the 3 stories that 60 Minutes covered in their episode. 1 was for a Social Security recipient, 2 were for disability. You want to stay for this. Number 1 is a story of Stephen and Becky Sword. So here's what happened. So this couple, they live in Chicago, and one day they received a letter from the Social Security Administration telling them that they owe $51,887 and they have 30 days to pay it back. So how did this even happen? Well, Stephen, the husband, became ill and got on disability benefits. While on disability benefits, he started working. And that is not unusual. The government encourages people on disability benefits who can work a little bit to test that. So there's a program called Ticket to Work. There's a program called Trial to Work. And you can get on that program and try to see if you are able to work a little bit. Now, just like people who get on Social Security before full retirement age, when you work, you have to report your earnings so that they can adjust your benefits. It's the same thing with disability benefits. When you work while on disability, you have to report your earnings to the Social Security Administration so that your disability benefits will be adjusted the following month. Each month that you work, you have to report the earnings. They will adjust your benefits for the next month. Well, Stephen and Becky Sword are saying that they've been doing that diligently for years. The problem is that even though they've been reporting their earnings to the Social Security Administration, his disability benefits were not being adjusted. This went on for years, and then boom, they get hit with a letter from the Social Security Administration saying they owe $51,887. They have 30 days to pay it back. They filed an appeal with the Social Security Administration. So before I even get into that, I am going to give you the 3 things you can do if you receive one of these letters and how to deal with it. So stay tuned for that. But let's get back to the story. So they filed an appeal and it was denied. And then they filed a waiver. A waiver is essentially telling the Social Security Administration that you cannot make this payment. There is no way you can pay this debt off, and that if they take some of your benefits or all of your Social Security benefits, it's going to cause you severe financial challenges. So they did that, and the waiver was denied. But there's a twist to this story, which I'm going to share at the end. You may want to stay for that because of this 60-minute story, there's an interesting twist to their story at the end. So this caused them tremendous financial stress, and it got to the point where they were willing to give up all their life savings. They've saved up about $60,000 they want to spend for retirement, and they were willing to give it all to the Social Security Administration to make this go away because they've exhausted all avenues to deal with this problem. So that is the first story. The second story is even more crazy. This is of Jean and Glenn. And here's what happened. So Jean, she got on Social Security benefits 6 years ago. She started receiving Social Security benefits 6 years ago. When the Social Security Administration were calculating her earnings, how much she is entitled to, they made a mistake. They calculated her Social Security benefits incorrectly. So for 4 years, they were sending her more benefits than she was entitled to. Now, let's pause for a second. Whose fault is this? I mean, if I am getting ready to take Social Security benefits, I am relying on the Social Security Administration, whose job it is to figure out how much, based on my work history, how much I've paid in, how much I worked, how much I'm entitled to. So how is it that they are making mistakes and then I am getting hit with the bill? So this is what happened here. She got a bill for $72,000 after 4 years of receiving Social Security, that they found out after 4 years that she was receiving more benefits than she was entitled to. So what do? They cut off her benefits completely. So for 2 years, she has not received a check. She has not received anything from Social Security in terms of benefits. And they're using her Social Security benefits to pay off the $72,000 that they say they overpaid her. This is crazy. And so somebody that worked into the system, paid into Social Security, then was ready to collect Social Security benefits in their retirement, started receiving Social Security checks. They look at the check and say, okay, this is what they say I'm supposed to receive. Okay. And then 4 years later, your benefits stop completely. Why? Because Social Security Administration made a mistake and you are responsible for that mistake. That is crazy. But the third story is even more crazier because this is something that should not even happen. So the story of Roy Farmer. So when Roy was a child, he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So he got on disability benefits. So his mom was receiving disability benefits to take care of him, which children on cerebral palsy can get on. You're entitled to get into that. But at a certain age, Social Security made a determination that he's no longer disabled, so they stopped his benefits, which is fine. However, they also figured out that they were paying him more benefits than he deserved at age 11. So the Social Security Administration sent him a letter as an adult. He's in his 20s now, he's working. They sent him a letter as an adult that he owes $4,920 in overpayments. Something that happened when he was 11 years old. Money that was sent to his mom to take care of him, and his mom has since passed away. And now they're sending him a letter as an adult to pay this debt. Why? Because the Social Security Administration determined that he's working and he has the means to be able to pay the debt off. This is the craziest thing in this 60-minute story, because I think that it goes to the heart of the problem, is that Social Security Administration is going after people years into debt that they think the people owed that they were not even aware of. And in this case, debt that was owed as a child is being collected when you become an adult. Money that you did not receive, your parents received on your behalf, and now as an adult, you are being sent letters claiming that you can pay this money, so they want the money back. Crazy story. So what does this all mean? Well, this became a big story, and Congress they invited the head of the Social Security, the interim head of the Social Security Administration, for a hearing in Congress. And you know how these hearings go. It's more theater than anything. It's for the cameras. They're going to ask questions for the cameras, and then nothing is going to happen. So if you have received a letter, or if you get one of these letters, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do to fight it. Number 1 is if you have the money, if you agree that you've been overpaid and you have the money sitting around, you should pay it. Now, a lot of people do not have that money sitting around, especially when they're sending you a bill for $72,000, $51,000. Somebody was sent a bill for $120,000 in overpayments that they've been receiving for years. So if you do not have the money, then your first option is to file for an appeal. An appeal means that you're telling the Social Security Administration that there is a problem with this picture and that you don't agree with their calculation, or they got something wrong, or they are calculating this completely wrong. Whatever information you have that helps build your case, include that in your appeal. Now, when you receive the letter, it's going to tell you that you have 60 days to file the appeal. However, after 30 days, the Social Security Administration can start withholding your Social Security check. They can start withholding all of it or some of it. So if you want to avoid any collection item until they've made a ruling on your appeal, then you have to file the appeal within 30 days. And by law, if the Social Security Administration receives your appeal within 30 days, they cannot initiate any collection activity until they've made a decision on your appeal. So it is important to file your appeal within 30 days, even though the letter you're going to receive is going to tell you to file your appeal in 60 days. That is really important. That if your appeal is denied, the next option you have is to file what they call a waiver. And a waiver essentially tells the Social Security Administration that you cannot pay this bill. That you are in such a financial position that if they take all of your benefits or some of it is going to cause you severe financial problems and that you cannot make this payment. And so you want them to forgive the debt. So they're going to ask you for your income, your expenses. They want to look at where, what bills you have and why collecting this money from you is going to cause you severe financial problems. So that is how the waiver process works. And then the third option, if your waiver is denied, then the only option you have left is to request a hearing before a Social Security administrative judge. And this is a legal proceeding. So if you're going to go down this route, it's best to hire an attorney who knows how to handle Social Security overpayment issues before a judge so that they can prepare the best case and put your best foot forward to make sure that everything is covered and that they're speaking the language of the court so that you have the best chance of getting this through. So those are your options on how you can deal with a Social Security overpayment if you receive one. But let's get to one of the problems that is happening that is causing this overpayment to even become a worse situation for people. Social Security is facing a severe staffing shortage. More people are receiving benefits than ever, and there's a 25-year shortage in workers. So less people are working in Social Security than they did in the last 25 years. So if you look at that picture, more people are receiving benefits and less people working at Social Security. It means that there's going to be a crisis. And so I'm going to talk about that, which is what the New York Times story that just came out is dealing with and how this is causing delays in benefits for some people, which I'm going to cover in a minute. But let's finish this overpayment story. So here's what experts are saying that the Social Security Administration needs to do. And this is what Congress can do to help fix this overpayment issue. Number one, there needs to be a statute of limitation. Why is the Social Security Administration going after people years and years into overpayments? If I've been receiving overpayments and I didn't even know, and it's been years, why is the Social Security Administration allowed to come after me after all these years? So experts are saying Congress needs to change the law so that there's a statute of limitation on when Social Security, how far they can go back to collect this overpayments. And then second, they need to restructure how payment plans are made for overpayment. Because remember, these are people who are receiving these letters that are on fixed income. Majority of people who are receiving these overpayment letters are on fixed income, Social Security or disability benefits. So people on fixed income are being sent letters to pay thousands and thousands of dollars that they don't have. On top of that, here's one wrinkle. If you are on disability benefits, especially SSI benefits, there is an asset limit. There's a resources limit. So you cannot have more resources than, if you're a couple, is $3,000. So how is it that you cannot have $3,000 or more in resources if you're on disability benefits, but then the Social Security Administration is sending you a bill to pay $51,000, when by law, you cannot have more than $3,000 as a couple in benefits, otherwise you risk losing your benefits. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense in this whole overpayment story, and this is part of the reforms that hopefully Congress can make to relieve some of this burden on people who are receiving these letters. But the Social Security Administration is aggressive in collecting these overpayments, and in 2022, as you can see, they collected $3.354 billion in overpayments. And the last 5 years, they've been collecting a lot of money. And even with all these 1 million people a year being pursued for overpayments, there is still $21.6 billion left in overpayments that needs to be collected. So this is a growing issue. It's going to continue to grow. And so if you're hit with one of these letters, do not ignore it, because after 30 days, there are consequences that you may not like. So here's how this 60-minute story ended. So the three people that were featured in the story, remember I told you they filed an appeal with the Social Security Administration. It was denied. They requested a waiver. It was denied. But after 60 minutes did this story, all of a sudden the Social Security Administration did a reverse and forgave all their debt for the three people that were featured. So It just shows that if you have powerful voices advocating for you, the government pays attention. But if you're vulnerable and you don't have powerful voices in your corner, then you're stuck with a bill. And so the 1 million people this year that are going to get overpayment requests and are going to be hit with thousands and thousands of dollars in bills, why are their debt not being forgiven? And the Social Security Administration has the power to do that. According to their own policy, which I've showed on the screen, if they see that collecting overpayment from somebody is against equity and good conscience, they are allowed to forgive the debt. But majority of it are not forgiven. Majority of requests for waivers are denied, even though according to the Social Security's own manual, they have the power to do so. So, essentially, this is a big problem. If you receive a letter, do not ignore it because the Social Security Administration has been relentless in pursuing overpayments. Now, let's get to the final story, which is the New York Times story that just came out a few days ago about Social Security delays that are causing issues in customer service and some benefits that are being delayed, applications for Social Security benefits, especially disability, that are backlogged. So let's get right into it. So this image in the New York Times story paints the picture of what is happening at the Social Security Administration. Workers that are overstretched. As I mentioned, more people are receiving Social Security benefits than before, 71 million people, yet there is a 25-year low in Social Security work numbers. So the number of people that are working Social Security is at a 25-year low, even though more people are on benefits than ever. $1.4 trillion in benefits are paid every month. And because of the shortages, there's customer service issues that are threatening benefits. Let's get to it. Right now, if you call the Social Security Administration, your average hold time is 36 minutes. 10 years ago, that was 10 minutes. So it has increased 3 times, almost 4 times in your wait time. Why is this? Even though the Social Security Administration has modernized their telephone system, they have introduced, the auto systems, the robots to talk to people, still there's insufficient number of employees to actually handle calls and address the real issues that beneficiaries and future beneficiaries need answered. So another group of people that are severely impacted by this shortage is people that are applying for Social Security disability benefits. 1 million people whose disability benefits have been submitted have been waiting for an average of 7 months for their initial disability benefit decision. That's the first step. And remember, 1 million people have applied for disability that are waiting 7 months to hear about the first step of the disability process. 70% of all disability applications are rejected. So the 7 months is just the beginning. So if you're waiting 7 months and you have a severe disability and you need help, you can't, the process doesn't even get started, and 7 months will go by without any response. And this is directly related to the staffing shortages that are happening at the Social Security Administration. And as I mentioned, there's a growing problem of overpayments. The Social Security Administration is trying to claw back billions of dollars, and some recipients owe tens of thousands of dollars to the Social Security Administration and have been calling to try to figure out why they're receiving this letter, what the letter is about, how come they owe this money, what happened. They were not even aware that this was happening, but they are being put on hold, and sometimes they're not able to talk to anybody to get this issue resolved. So this is another problem that is being impacted because of this delay and issues at the Social Security Administration. So how does this happen? The biggest culprit is budget cuts. Congress cut the customer service budgets for the Social Security Administration by 17% since 2011. So, as I mentioned, staffing hit a 25-year low last year. So if you put all this together, Social Security beneficiaries have increased by 22% during the same period. So 17% cut in customer service budget, 25-year low in the staffing levels at the Social Security Administration, and then 22% increase in people who are receiving benefit. You pulled all that together, and you can see why this is a disaster and why the Social Security Administration is facing all these challenges to handle the volume of calls, the volume of benefit applications, the volume of people that are applying for benefits. And the Biden administration is asking for $1.3 billion to increase customer service at the Social Security Administration next year. But we all know what happens in Congress. The House Republicans are proposing a $250 million cut in spending in the Social Security budget. So this is all going to get worse if Congress does not act to give the Social Security Administration the resources it needs to be able to service the people that it was created to service. So, in the meantime, the Social Security budget has gone up because as more people are getting benefits, they're going to need more resources to handle it. More technology, more operational, systems to be able to handle the volume of beneficiaries. And that has gone up by $600 to $700 million annually. So with budget cuts and costs going up, record number of people receiving benefits, customer service budgets cuts, it's all in the mix. And you can understand why this is happening. On top of that, the leadership at the Social Security Administration has not been stable. Former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley is been nominated by the president as the permanent director. The Social Security Administration currently has an interim director, and what that means is that you need a permanent leader that can come in and make the right changes to move the organization forward. Well, that hasn't happened, and Martin O'Malley's nomination is dragging through Congress, and so this is another wrinkle where even if you have the resources to do this, you don't have the leadership to take charge of the situation and move it forward because you don't have a permanent director that can address some of these issues that the organization is facing. Now, the interim director has made some progress. She's added 7,900 employees with a $207 million increase in the customer service funding. But this is not enough to deal with the record number of people that are calling the organization. On top of that, even if they get all the resources in, they get all the people that they need in right now, it takes about a year to train a Social Security employee to be able to get an understanding of the complexities of the Social Security rules and regulations to be able to provide adequate service to beneficiaries and future beneficiaries. And so the current budget freeze, the shortages that are happening are going to make it worse because it even takes a long time to get the employees, new employees up to speed to be able to service people. So it just means that everything has to happen as soon as possible because of the amount of time it's going to take to train people. So basically, here's where we are with the Social Security Administration. If there are further budget cuts, it's going to make things worse. You're going to expect the whole time to go from 36 minutes to probably an hour. How many people are patient enough to call the Social Security Administration and stay on the phone for an hour? So anything that you hear in the news that talks about cutting Social Security Administration budget, cutting waste, well, it affects people who are on benefit and affects retirees directly because that means that you're going to have enough people to help retirees address issues. And so what is it going to cause? Delay in benefits, delay in benefit applications, delay in processing disability benefits, delays in dealing with issues. If your benefit doesn't show up and you call them, who is going to be able to address that issue for you? So these are some of the challenges that the Social Security Administration has to deal with in order to be able to move things forward in the right direction. So that is where we are. Now, if you want more information about this, I'm going to make another video detailing some of the backlog issues, specific details about who is impacted by this wait times, what benefits and what benefit categories specifically are being affected by the problems that are happening at the Social Security Administration. So if something that affects you is on the list, then you are aware of how to deal with it, because this is a big story, and I think that this is just the tip of the iceberg on what is happening at the Social Security Administration. So that is all the updates I have for you today. I hope that it's been helpful to you. If you are new to this channel, hit the subscribe button, and until I see you in the next video, thank you for watching.